pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Echo Delta nominal.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
Hello, 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 my favorite spaceflight nerds. How is everyone doing?
what scenario that would happen, but it's still a safety precaution that they take. Jackson Mills is a Capcom member. Thank you very much, and enjoy your time in the Discord. Let's see. ADHD Gaming saying had Starlink since beta, 14 months of awesomeness. Well, that's good. That's a good report that it's working for you. And then the Sandwich Maker just saying Team Space are patient Hank watchers.
Oh,
Yeah, we
now
are.
I'm hungry. I want a sandwich.
What?
And then we have a couple of other new members, both named Robert. We've got Robert Keeper becoming a Red Team member, and also Robert Shelton becoming a Red Team member. So thank y'all for that support. That's the kind of stuff that helps keep this ship a-rolling. All right, and are you guys seeing anything do I need to stop? Should I keep hitting questions? What do we got going on over here on ship 24?
I mean, the vent stack has stopped. I don't see really. There's some puffs coming from the tank farm, so it seems to me like they're getting ready to recycle. So that's, I guess, good news.
Is the I have been staring at the question screen. How's that frost line looking?
I was just looking.
It's going down.
Tough
Very
to
good.
see from this angle, but yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely shrinking
Yeah.
for sure.
Had to wait for Patrick to change the view.
Yeah. All
I
right.
mean, you see from here too.
Oh, go ahead. What do you got?
I was going to say, you see the orbital tank farm is still sitting silent.
Yeah. It was doing some puffing. Was that earlier today, or do I have my days? I think, yeah. Wasn't it doing some pretty regular pulsing vents earlier today? Or am I thinking? Maybe I'm thinking of yesterday. I don't know. I see, when you grab sleep, just kind of whenever you can, you lose track of what day stuff happened.
Yep, I understand that.
We've got some more questions. Remember, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight. We have quite a few queued up. We're just kind of strolling through those tags, and we will put them into this queue and hopefully get your question answered. Ghost Dragon saying a lot of people were arguing on if second stage and single stage to orbit. Give us the answer. Give us the answer now, Alex.
Oh, God. that whole thing. Well, it's easy. The question was whether Starship can go into orbit by itself. The answer is no. And as I said the other day, there's no questions asked. Whatever modifications you're thinking of, that's not the Starship that we're looking at here. So yeah.
Yeah.
But if we're seeing some venting from Ship 24, or it's just my imagination.
Did we? I don't see any right now, but there might have been a little puff before.
I'm thinking on the methane tank, but maybe it's me.
There's an old
Patrick,
80s
that's a
song.
cue for you to change the view.
There's an old
Okay,
80s
no.
song called King of Wishful Thinking, and I think that's you, Alec. All right, we've got more questions. Wait a minute, we've got a very generous super chat coming in, $99.99 from Alan Fromm. Wow, with no question, just the support. Thank you very much, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, man, that means so much that people would do that sort of thing. That's a lot of money to me. Yeah, thank you so much. Man, I never know what to say with that. Like, man, I can't do that. I would not be able to do that. But thank you very much. Those that can, we really appreciate it.
Oh God, why this question had to go off? Now everyone is arguing about that in chat.
Do what?
The SSTO question. Now everyone is talking about that.
And then
apart from some bacon talk.
Bacon talk, yeah. And I thought, and this is probably wrong, but I thought like maybe a couple of years ago when people were already talking about this. I mean, this has been a subject for a long time, and the consensus was like, yeah, it could maybe do it if it had no payload, but then why would you do that?
Yep. Just kind of like just to say that you did.
Yeah, but that was also with a design from years ago, and like there's many variables into the whole thing. People say, oh well, but it has the delta V because if you fully fuel the tanks, right, you might have the delta V. I will disagree with that. It's a little bit under the delta V that you need to go into orbit, but then again, if you fully load the vehicle, you still don't have the thrust to even lift off with all 6 engines. So you will need to add engines or extended tanks, and then you run into a vehicle that is not a Starship. It's not the thing that you're seeing right here on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you remove the flaps, for example, that could shave a little bit of dry mass and probably add some delta V, but still you're short on the liftoff thrust. So yep, you will need more engines, and probably that means the dry mass is higher. So you will need more tank fuel volume. So then again, you run into the same issue, right? So you need to make Starship bigger to be able to allow an SSTO to happen with, but that's not the vehicle that we're seeing right now. So, yep. Call it whatever you want, but that's not a Starship.
And it doesn't make sense to do it anyway.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah. Well, and then kind of along those lines of why would you do it? We have a question from Ian Downs. Can Booster 7 fly without Starship on it?
Sure. It would not fly for very long, though.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Ian's.
Oh, yeah. Another Ian. That reminds me of a meme that Mark did yesterday with Starhopper on top of Booster 7. And it was like a small nose cone on top. I mean, if you fly with a nose cone, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put like a Falcon Heavy side booster nose cone on it. That wouldn't work.
that wouldn't
That's
work.
like something I would do in Kerbal, like put a nose cone on it, but it's way too small. Let's see. Going back into the question bag. Some guy asking, are the SPMTs a long-term solution for Starship and Super Heavy transport, or is that a short-term solution? Pretty good question.
I don't think we know the answer to that. I mean, it seems like they're doing the job plenty fine. I mean, SpaceX has even bought their own. So I'd say, like, medium term at least. I mean, maybe they could buy or build a dedicated transport that's maybe faster, more stable, wider base, things like that. But it seems like the SPMTs are doing what they need right now. And the fact that they bought their own, to me, says that they're doing exactly what they need.
Yeah. All right. And Toaster Chip saying, what Starship do you guys think will be the first to land on Mars? My guess, this is from them, not me. My guess is Ship 36. That's not too far. Wow, that's very optimistic.
I'd say in the early to mid hundreds.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's a bad question for me because I never decide. I'm gonna say, the last like 80 to 100, probably. But yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to point out right now is we're seeing the frost already gone from Ship 24. We're seeing the tank farm coming off a little bit more to life than before. So hopefully we see a recycle. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. I like your optimism. Oh, and Patrick, who's running the stream right now in the back channel, said Ship 24, or sorry, Ship 42. For obvious reasons, I think.
42 might be a contender for like maybe the first crewed Starship, but even that seems very early to me.
Yeah, it does. Maybe the first one to land on the moon?
Maybe the first to do refueling.
Yeah. I mean, they tried to do something significant with the Booster 4, Ship 20.
Mm-hmm.
Elon said it was just a coincidence, but it seemed like they were trying to push for doing something with those that was significant. And, well, now we're on Booster 7 and Ship 24.
Yep.
Yeah. Joshua Benchimol saying, is this the same fuel that SpaceX uses for the Falcon 9 launches?
No. That's an easy question.
Yep.
We answer all questions, by the way. Not like just because it is an easy question doesn't mean it's less worthy. We do
Right.
answer those questions.
Yeah.
This rocket uses methane, liquid methane, as the fuel, whereas Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy use kerosene. Actually, a rocket grade kerosene called RP1.
Mhm. All right. Let's see. Shmuel Nathan. Can we assume they need to fire all 6 engines to have Ship 24 ready? I assume Elon wants a full stack for tomorrow, plus they can't without having Ship 24 on top.
Full stack for tomorrow? I don't think they're really looking at a full stack for tomorrow's announcement. I think it's okay where it will be unwise, in my opinion, to just remove Ship 24 out of here just for an event like this. There's a lot of testing going on. I said yesterday, don't assume that just because they fire all engines on both vehicles, that's it. They could fire again, for example, or they could try any other kind of testing. So,
with Ship 20, they did 2 or 3 6-engine static fire tests, and I mean, Ship 24 has Raptor 2 engines, so it has brand new engines, higher thrust, different arrangement of the engines. It's kind of like a new engine in some remarks. So it wouldn't shock me to do several different static fires, do pre-burner tests and things like that, just to get all the data you can so you can be confident when this flies, because there's a lot at stake here, and these are brand new. Oh, and there's a vent.
Oh, another depress vent. We usually expect 2 depress vents, but that was a short one, so hopefully it's just for recycling. Usually when it is short vents, that's a good sign, because the depress vents of we're done with this are way longer and more impressive. This was like a short one. So hopefully we're actually going to be seeing a recycle very shortly.
All right. And in the meantime, back to your question. Elmar Wormuth, does SpaceX already got a launch license for Starship?
No. They do have the FAA environmental report approved, which is, I think, the last major milestone towards the launch license, but they've not gotten the license yet.
All right. And I am a meme saying, why do we need Gateway, or do we need Gateway? Talking about Gateway as part of... Uh-oh, here we go.
This one is a little bit longer. Now, see, I said it's short, it's good. And now it's getting longer.
And some base venting too there near the engines.
Yep. That's interesting.
Well, this is certainly...
But it's only one vent.
There's 2 vents normally, right?
There's usually 2.
Closer to the top, too. So is this them venting the fuel and the oxygen tanks?
Yep.
Oh, it's top now. There it goes again.
It's interesting. They seem to have 2 vents for the methane tank and 1 for the oxygen.
I believe the oxygen tank also has 2. I believe there's another one on the right side. They just only use usually 1, which is interesting to see, because that's also the same thing for the methane tank. Well, to be frank, the LOX tank actually has 4 vents, because then there's the 2 cowbell vents that are pointing down, but those are less used. They're used, but just less times. and then the engine chill vents are 2 of them. But this is quite a lot of venting. I
Yeah.
wonder if they're actually doing like a depress for good, and they're done for the day, or maybe for the recycling, they just want everything to be just, in like a reset condition.
Yeah. Start fresh. Start from 0. Is that all you have to say, Ship 24?
I was just about to say, I think that's our depress there. So we've kind of hit rock bottom. Now we should start climbing back up, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Crossing
All
our
right,
fingers.
All right, so we'll keep watching for stuff, and in the meantime, yeah, we've still got this question up: why do we need Gateway, or do we need Gateway? Of course, they're talking about Gateway for the Artemis program, sort of like a space station around the moon, right?
Yeah, that's a big question. So, do we need Gateway? Maybe not need it, but it helps. There's really several purposes, and I think there's kind of one overarching kind of hidden purpose. So the main purpose of it is supposedly to have a sort of docking hub in lunar orbit, where Orion and Starship will dock, and the crew will, and 2 crew members will stay while 2 go down to the surface. So it's kind of like a little crew quarters. Oh, and some extra venting there for good luck. That was quick.
One vent
Yeah,
for
so-
the road.
Yeah. So Gateway's like a docking hub, but I think one of the main reasons it exists, honestly, even because Starship is so big that they wouldn't technically need it, maybe, but I think one of the big reasons it exists is to have international cooperation. So Japan and Europe are providing modules, and the fact that they're providing modules and they're already committed would make it much harder for, say, the government to defund the Artemis program and defund Gateway, because you already have commitments from international partners. And I think it's the whole overarching point of the Artemis program that makes it different from Constellation is that we already have commitments from other countries. So if we back out, they're not going to be happy with us. So that's at least my thinking on this, is that's why we have Gateway. That's why it seems a little counterintuitive, but it's all woven together to make it uncancelable.
Yeah, there's also the argument that Orion cannot make it into low lunar orbit, so then you need some kind of staging station around the moon, and the best way to position that station is in like a stable orbit, and the near rectilinear halo orbit where the Gateway will be located is sort of like that ideal stable orbit around the moon. But then again, you could think, well, why don't they make a tug for Orion, or why don't they make the service module larger, right? Yeah, there's many like counter reasons to that technical reason why they're using Gateway. But yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of keeping everybody involved, I think. And, maybe it's not such a bad idea to have a couple of people in a small station orbiting the moon while there's a couple of people down on the surface.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe they'd be able to help them in some way that people back on Earth wouldn't be able to. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, go ahead,
go
Alex.
ahead. No, go you.
Literally just said
was-
3 sentences, the exact same 3 sentences at the exact same time. That was magical.
But yeah, and the thing with Gateway too, someone mentioned that in the chat too, is that the near rectilinear halo orbit spends a long time over the lunar south pole, meaning that Gateway can be a communications hub to relay signal from the lunar station to the lunar base, and also at the same time, the crew on board Gateway can do science experiments, photography of the moon, science of the moon, some zero gravity research, things like that, because a space station around the moon is a great science opportunity, and that I'm very, very personally excited about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that is usually often talked about here is that why build a Gateway if you don't have the funding for it, right? Because I'm all for it. Like, Oh yeah, I want stations everywhere. The same thing, with robotic missions. I want orbiters around Mercury, Venus. Around Earth we have many of them, obviously. Around Mars, all of the planets out there. I want orbiters and landers and all of that, and human stations around. But money is always the one that is here. Dictating what you can do and what you cannot do. So if you don't have the money to actually run that program, reminder that they're struggling to actually get money for Gateway right now, and they don't even have appropriations for funding for the logistics services to Gateway, the Gateway Logistics Services, which is actually right now being run. It's on the plans to be run via SpaceX's Dragon XL vehicle. So if you don't have the funding, why dig yourself a grave into another project which might avert funding from other things, like actually going to Mars? But yeah, that's a whole different debate here.
Yeah. All right, let's hit a couple of these super chats. We've got I can't read. I'm not even sure. I'm a ugly American. I'm not even sure what language this is, but thank you very much for the 15 of what's that currency there? Is that
I think that's Taiwan currency. I think it is.
Okay.
Hold up.
Well,
Yep, that's Taiwan. That's Taiwanese dollars.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you very much for that support.
After so
No
long,
question
one.
for the support. Then we've got Priddle becoming a Capcom member. Enjoy your fun in the Discord. Secret Orb saying SSTO off the surface of Mars. Just saying. Okay, so there. Yeah, you're technically yes. So yes, Starship can go single stage to orbit from Mars, right?
Actually, SSTE, single stage to Earth. From Mars. So that's amazing. Trying to look for more signs of the tank farm activity. It's a little bit hard to see. I believe I've seen the recondenser puffing a little bit before, but
See birds flying around. So the pad is not technically clear.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why they.
engines vent. Engine vents.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I cannot English right now. I get excited and I cannot English. Yeah, that's engine vents coming off again.
What does that mean, Alex? Does that mean there's depressing or they're loading stuff on board?
Well, if we see a frost ring on the Lux tank within a few minutes, it might mean they're actually loading again. That's nice. It just looked like when they pull up for the first time. Here's hoping.
Yeah, today. Yeah. Yeah, because I remember we were watching this, I think before we went live, we were noticing some of this activity. So yeah, hopefully we're on our way to a second test here, or first test. I don't know. What would you consider the first thing we saw? Is that a test? Do you think, with it, now a little bit behind us, do y'all think that it was an aborted test, or do you think, what are your thoughts there?
Test 1.1?
There you go. All right. See, Christopher Thomas, we're running out of steel on Earth. It's all being sent to space by SpaceX. Not really. Not yet.
There's a lot of steel on Earth.
There's a lot of steel. In fact,
yeah.
that's part of why Starship is made out of steel, because it's so cheap, because it's so plentiful, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of the deciding factors, I think.
It is cheap. It's easier to work with because with carbon fiber, say if you get a cut or it cracks or something or leaks, you're done. You have to scrap the PC. It's extremely difficult, if not even possible at all, to fix. But with stainless steel, just weld it together if you want.
Yeah.
And I think also that makes it good for if you're on Mars and say there's maybe a crack in the flap. Oh, just weld it or something.
Yeah. In this view, we've got a good look at I'm seeing 2 vents. These are the engine vents we're talking about, right?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, they don't shoot out with quite as much authority as those depress vents. They just kind of trickle out. It's all right. Paul Kelly with a question. Are there any signs SpaceX might increase the propellant / LN2 capacity of the suborbital farm or link it to the orbital farm?
At this point, no. I would say if they wanted to do it, they would have done it already. And the fact they have a fully fledged orbital farm that can already tank the vehicle and a fully fledged suborbital farm to test the Starship vehicle, I don't see really any point in linking them anymore.
It might also be, well, the suborbital tank farm, no, but it might come handy for the orbital tank farm, for example, to expand it once they actually increase the cadence. That might be helpful.
Just to have a little extra capacity, you mean?
Yeah, and we actually know they want a second launch pad, so they're obviously going to have a second tank farm out there. We'll see once that happens, if they actually increase the current one and more depress vents. This is so confusing. Engine vents, but also the depress vents. It's like SpaceX confuses media button being pressed right now.
Right. Yeah, that's odd. All right. Well, I like this one from Christopher Thomas. The Boring Company tunneled to the core and is pumping the liquid iron straight to SpaceX. And then they have booster and ship numbers that are very long.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what is that? B 2 trillion 5 billion 847. No, I started in the wrong place. Let's see.
Oh my god.
No, it's
I wouldn't try it.
20 trillion 58,473,759.
The ship number is much higher by an order of magnitude.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to point something out real quick. We've seen the vent stack again going off, so yeah, that means more detank. So probably not recycling yet.
Or they started to recycle and then something wasn't going right.
Well, I'm hoping it's more that they're still detanking. I hope that is the case. Because if we see 2 aborts in the same day, oh, jeez. That will be a letdown.
All right. And Michael is in the back channel saying that we've seen engine chill vents during detanking.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's worth noting there.
It's just weird, though.
Go ahead.
No, I was about to point out that it is weird, though, that sometimes they either go out forever, or whenever they come back a little bit more, like more vivid than now. It seems like it's more like, we're just venting here a little bit, like some bleed of the cryogenic stuff, but yeah. Like just in passing kind of vent.
Well, we continue to watch. Gwen Ever asking, do you think Starship is going to be ready on time for the HLS demo mission? That's a good question, because that's going to be one of its main priorities as it marches through development. It needs to be ready to it has to do its demo mission first to land on the moon.
Yeah, and we're getting new information about it too. Like, they might not even have a full-up Starship or like the full-up human landing system Starship to land. It'll just be a skeleton ship. What they're thinking right now, which won't even take off again. And that's strange to me. Yeah.
What was it was noticed that one of the requirements for mission success is not taking off. So I guess I worded that wrong. Taking off is not a requirement for mission success.
I was reminded yesterday, though, that actually the uncrewed demo flights were not required, apparently. So, like, NASA only required them to just land people on the moon. And they could just do that without demonstrating the actual lander to be functional. Before that, like, you could probably just do ground testing or subscale testing on Earth, but not an actual uncrewed test flight. And in some sense, it kind of, I mean, even though we're in the 21st century, on Apollo it was way riskier because they went down to the moon all the time, right? With people on board. There were no uncrewed test flights with the lander on the moon. There were test flights, obviously, with our crew here on Earth. They were launching lunar modules and Apollo spacecraft without people on board, but on Earth. They didn't do any sort of moon landing test without crew on board.
Right.
So if you think about it, I mean, yeah, right now it will be way safer if you actually did an uncrewed test flight. Like, I don't think anyone will be like, will be like, yeah, we're not gonna do any sort of uncrewed test flight, right? But then again, if that's not required by NASA, it is something that the companies themselves decide to do, then they probably set up their requirements themselves, and they thought that only landing was good enough to test the systems. And then the other things were just going to be tested independently, which, I mean, if that's what they decide, that's totally fair.
It's sort of like how SpaceX wasn't required to do an in-flight abort test of Dragon, but they chose to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you're right.
Put on a great show. If you had a clear sky above you, you had a great show. I know a lot of people got clouded out by that one.
Yesterday I watched that one. I went back and watched that again. It was amazing. For those that actually had a view of it, of course.
All right, let's move along here. Still a little bit of venting there. Keeping an eye there. Stellar Raptor saying, do you think your cameras will survive a liftoff of Starship?
That's the last question, right?
Yeah, that's a DOS question. But I would just go out on a limb and say yes, probably, because they're not so close that they run the risk. I mean, we leave cameras here at the Cape. I mean, like when we set remotes for an Atlas V, we're pretty darn close. Like, you'd be surprised how close we can get. I'm like in the hundreds of feet range in some spots, up to, well, I don't know, I guess maybe up to like a quarter of a mile. Like, we're pretty close, and our cameras are fine as long as there's no anomalies, you know. And you know, they have obviously restrictions on where you can and can't place cameras, but out here at Boca Chica, you know, I think our cameras are all, you know, safely away from the vehicle. I don't think there's a whole lot of concern about the cameras being destroyed. So that's good. That means we'll be able to cover it and bring it to you. And then Steven Stutler becoming a launch director member. That is awesome. Thank you so much for that support. Click the button. Thank you very much, Steven. Or Stefan, actually. I didn't notice the A. As a Steven myself, I've been called Stefan, and that's not right. But I think when there's an A, it's supposed to be either Stefan or Stefan, whichever you prefer. And Musical Wolves saying, will a mini chopstick tower be made to lift the ships to an SPMT after their static fire tests are complete to save time on stacking to the booster at the Cape?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You think they'll just use a crane?
Easier. It's easier with a crane. I mean, you will need to have like a rolling chopstick tower, because once you take off the ship, right, you might need to move it or something. Or I think they did once with Booster 7. They moved it from the Oriole launch mount to the structural test stand, and it's decent distance away, and still, like, they didn't put it on a transport stand. They just hanging from the crane. It went all the way to the structural system, and it was hilarious.
Oh, we're getting some more venting. Maybe we could switch to cam, see if we can get see if there's any detanking venting.
It's going
Seems
pretty
like-
good.
Hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
It seems like in the past few weeks it's being a little bit stalled. They rolled out the 7th section of the tower, but it hasn't been stacked as far as I'm aware. Unless
Right.
now I say that, and now SpaceX is like lifting the whole thing with
Yeah, it could be.
just to make me a liar.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I was out there. I was out at Playa Linda yesterday. I'm sure a lot of you watched
right.
our live stream of the astronauts flying around the Cape and flying by Pad 39B, where SLS is. And actually, if you saw my photo on Twitter, you can actually see the Starship tower in the background, which at first I was like, oh, I should probably just try to have the Starship or have SLS in there and not have the tower in the background. But then I'm like, wait a minute, they're both Artemis. There ain't no shame in having, other Artemis stuff in the background. So zoomed out a little bit and included that. But all that is to say, I don't think that they had put segment number 7 on top. I saw a crane with a line going down, so I think it might be or might have been connected. And that was yesterday morning, so that's quite a while ago in SpaceX time, and they could have easily stacked it. But I have not gotten a look today. And from a distance, it's really hard to tell. From the press site and from Playa Linda, you can count the segments. It's a little more difficult from Playa Linda because it's hard to see exactly where the base is. But from the press site at Kennedy, you can tell, and you can just kind of count, the segments and see how many are there. So, yeah, as far as we know right this moment, segment number 7 is still sitting on the ground next to the tower. But 8 and 9, if you saw our most recent flyover video, 8 and 9 are under construction at the Roberts Road facility. What is this?
That's an interesting
Wow.
vent. That's a vent from one of the nitrogen tanks at the tank farm.
Yep, I've seen that before. It's just an internal tank vent to relieve some pressure.
Yeah, it used to be the bull vent, but I think they changed that, and now it's more like a normal vent. It used to be like 2 vents and appear like a bull vent kind of thing.
Interesting. So that's you don't think that has anything to do with today? That's just sort of like a maintenance vent.
Well, it's usually done when spooling down, but it might not be a spool down completely. Again, we're holding up for some hope of recycling. So yeah, we'll keep watching anyways.
Yes. Always watching. Sean E. asking, how much cargo and passengers can Starship carry to the moon, let's say? Cargo capacity or payload capacity. What do we got? What do we know?
I mean, they've said 100 tons before, but that includes, several refuelings. How many, we really don't know. But I would assume with the Artemis missions, it would be much, much less than 100 tons.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh, and this, I think I queued this one up earlier before we really got into the SSTO thing. But can a Starship SSTO from Mars? I don't think that the booster was part of the plan for landing on Mars. And yeah, you're right, it wasn't.
Yeah.
yeah, the plan is to single stage to orbit from Mars. Oh, what do we got?
We have people, cars line up at the roadblock, including the shuttle van, I think it is,
Oh,
which is used to, yeah.
does that mean they're about to open the road and they're gonna? Or not open it to the public, but to a few employees or something? What is that?
There you go. Yeah, you were right on that last one. That could be that. I mean, this is obviously speculation, but it could be they're opening it only for employees. We usually see that happening sometimes if they have to fix something on the pad, and they might try again some testing. But yeah, that does indicate something's up. It's not a good sign, anyways, because
Right.
if it is employees going to repair something or reset something, that's bad because obviously something going wrong, which is fair. Like, this is testing, right? This is why we test and all of that stuff. But if it's the other option,
let's keep Starship in there.
yeah, if it's the other option, obviously it means no testing today, which we don't like that.
Yeah.
No, don't go anywhere yet, folks. We have not called it yet. So we're gonna keep watching and see what happens. Feel free to keep throwing some questions up there. We've got some from like up to like 35 minutes ago down to 8 minutes ago. I'm still keeping an eye on the queue. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm gonna grab this one. This one just came in. C Burns, how many ears of corn can Starship hold?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
A better question is how many kernels of corn?
Oh, don't even. Someone out there is going to be like, all right, so what's the mass of a kernel of corn? What's the volume of a kernel of corn? And it's just going to waste a night.
Or just on average, how many kernels of corn are on one ear of corn?
Oh, no.
And why do they call them ears? Who came up with ear? It doesn't look like an ear.
No, it doesn't.
And what's European bacon? Somebody please tell me. European bacon. Oh, man. But honestly, if you know, tag us at NASA Spaceflight. I want to know. All right, we'll keep an eye on that road, on the road where they've got it closed, and we'll see if anybody drives past. That'll be sort of a big indicator for us. William Lydiard saying, how many liters of fuel does it take for initial startup of the thrusters? I think they mean engine. And part 2, what is fuel capacity max? That is an interesting question. How much fuel does it take just to start up the engine?
I don't think we know.
If they mean like, I don't think we know either, but like...
Yeah, not a lot.
Because there's an amount of time that, to get them up and running before they would, in a real life situation, before the pad would release the rocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry, William. That's a really good question. We don't know. Do we at least know what the fuel capacity is that we can tell them?
It's 1,200 tons, so quite a lot.
All right.
See more cars going down the road, and I'm like, please turn to the right. There's another street to the right of that view. It's turning.
And there they go.
And Chris B in the back channel, I think trying to be helpful, but not really, saying European bacon, best bacon. Jack confirmed. Well, UK bacon. I still don't know what it is. Is it a certain way of preparing the bacon? Is that what oven bacon is? Is that European
Maybe.
bacon?
I have no idea.
Huh. This is confusing.
He says better pigs.
They're pigs.
We've got the best pigs.
We have here in Spain jamón, that's really, really, I don't know, yummy? What's the word?
Delicious.
It's good. It's delicious. There you go. I wasn't able to find that word in my brain. Brain tired now. Back to Starship.
Back to Starship, and also thanks to Drew Narceritus, I think is how you say it, gifting a red team membership. So keep your eyes peeled on your notifications or however that works. And
Nice.
you might be the lucky recipient of a red team membership. So thanks, Drew. And SpaceX News Daily asking, is there a Raptor vacuum engine version 2 or is that still on version 1? I was curious if all the Raptors needed an update.
It does seem like it is Raptor 2. Because we saw some kind of distant picture of it on some of these press releases by NASA on HLS updates and things like that. They had a tour of Starbase and we saw a Raptor vacuum there, and it seemed different. Like even the extension, the nozzle extension, that was the word. The nozzle extension and like the plumbing and all that seemed to be more of a Raptor 2 engine, and I believe we're seeing now the security Tesla arrive. Please go to the right. But,
Go away.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to the right. Nice. Oh, well, it might have been the security Tesla. It didn't have the lights. Might be just generic white Tesla, the Starbase.
Yeah. Yeah, could be. All right, we've got a couple of updates on the European bacon front here. Dave Schneider saying they cut bacon from a different part in Europe. All right, that's giving us some insight. And then, what?
Car's moving.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
They're going to the pad.
Boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the security Tesla. It was
There it
hidden
is.
from you.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Seems like, is the road generally closed to the public? I didn't see them move the barrier away.
Yeah, I think still closed to the public.
Yeah.
And we'd get well, I guess it's not always timely, but we'd get a text that says that it's open, right?
Yeah, it's usually
that doesn't
not on
always
time.
happen like immediately. Yeah, I remember you talking about that one day. It's like, it's not exactly right when it happened.
Again, it could also be, we always see employees going first before they open it to the public because they have to save stuff or on the pad and things like that. But it could well be too that they're going to the pad to reset whatever they might want to reset for whatever testing they might want to complete today, or this might be just the end of testing for today. But we'll see. We're probably going to stick around for a little bit more and see if there's any sort of signs of of them being done for today. Certainly not called for today, but yeah, not a good sign.
Well, if you need some cheering up, Breakneck Trent has a good way to cheer you up. Asking with $11.11 of a super chat. I like that. How many stars would a starship ship if a starship could ship stars? So
Yeah.
ponder that, everybody. Hopefully that gives you a little chuckle.
Well, 0, right? Because Starship shipping stars, we
don't think
think
they'd fit.
stars are a little bit larger. Yeah. I mean, the only stars that I can think of that might be able to fit on a starship, that will be something like a quark star or something like that, or a black hole directly.
Yeah.
Because those
I
are
was gonna
really-
say, couldn't
they can be small.
some small black holes are like not that big. Like they have the mass of a lot of stars, but they are compressed into a very small container. No, I don't know if container is the word. But
They're usually very small. Like a neutron star is roughly the size of a city. So it's not, and they're usually the mass of the sun. So you have the mass of the sun in the size of a city. So if you compress it, let's say 100-fold, that might be something the size of a starship, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're seeing there.
That'd be weird.
I mean, astrophysics time here at NSF, we have had many many astrophysics times before. But we've seen that the vehicles went to the suborbital side,
Yeah.
so that's potentially a good sign.
It seems like the road is still publicly closed.
Yeah, it does look that way. All right. Let's see. I like this question. I hope you guys have some thoughts on this here. Jim John Jill, I think. Hey guys, what's your thoughts on the progression of engine technology? For instance, chemical moving to nuclear, aerospikes making a comeback, etc., etc. Do you have thoughts on that?
I think first off, the first part to address is that aerospikes are only useful in very specific applications. The main one really being single stage to orbit vehicles. So kind of like the X-33 proposal. That was a good application of aerospikes. Anything outside of that really, I mean, aerospikes aren't bad, they're just not, perfectly optimized. They're a bit complicated, they're tough to engineer, expensive, and they've never flown on a vehicle before, as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, that's my thought. Alex, anything on like nuclear? Up to you.
Well, on aerospikes, I will say that probably on Earth they don't make sense, but on Venus, for example, might make more sense.
Oh, okay.
If we ever do a rocket there, that was my thinking, and also probably, I mean, Titan has also a thick atmosphere, but it also is like very low on gravity, so might not be needed to.
Mm-hmm.
As for the progression of engine technology, I will say that I'm not sure. We're seeing proposals and contracts for nuclear engines to be coming up next soon, and advances on ion technology as well, on ion engine technology. But so far, it's not really that breakthrough technology, if you want to put it that way.
All right. Yeah, and I have no thoughts. I'm just amazed that any of them work at all. Holden, I like this one. How do you feel about the Artemis 1 launch being so close? I am super stoked, personally, because I never got to see a shuttle launch, and I've heard tales of how impressive it was, and the experience is gonna be awesome. I just cannot wait, and to be able to be at the press site for it is just a complete honor. I mean, when I first moved down to the Space Coast a few years back, I didn't see that. That wasn't even in my brain that would be a possibility, that I would be able to be that close to SLS when it was launching. So I just can't wait. I just have to stay focused on the task and try to get some good photos and also take it all in at the same time. I've heard, and I keep saying this to people, and people that saw the shuttle have confirmed it for me. I believe Chris G even has confirmed this for me. I've been told that if you have water in front of you, that you can actually see the shockwave affecting the water as it comes towards you, as the sound is rushing towards you, and that is. I'm trying to think of a way to try to capture that. I don't know. There's people out there that have high-speed cameras that's really probably what you would want for something like that. But I mean, and that's just the launch. I mean, the fact that Artemis is getting underway, and we're testing out the full system, sending Orion around the moon. It's like a 42-day mission. Like that's a super long mission, and we learned from I learned, I'm sure other people already knew this, but we learned from the press briefing the other day that Orion was certified for 21 days, but they're going to push the envelope and just see how it does with a 42-day mission. And I think that is totally awesome, because when you don't have people on board, that is the time to really push the envelope and see what your system is capable of. So I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be it's just going to be cool. Like, oh, look at this shot. Look at the birds. Oh, love it. But yeah, the whole Artemis 1 mission is going to be awesome. But, right now it's hard for me to not just think about that launch. And, as many launches as I've seen, I don't know that there's another rocket that could put me, like, I don't know, give me the level of anxiety that I'm expecting to feel that day, because, I'm so used to Atlases and Falcons, and you kind of know what to expect, and you know how it's going, and for the most part, you assume that it's going to launch as long as there's not any like weather constraints. But with SLS, it's a brand new vehicle.
Delta.
Well, fair. we don't see a lot of those, but yeah, it's going to be a lot like that actually, because especially if you were around and watching our streams for the Enroll 44 mission, I believe it was, from the Cape. It was a Delta Heavy mission. And we went through like 4 or 5 scrubs on that, I think. And then, some attempts were separated by weeks or months, and it just took a lot of attempts to get that rocket off the ground. And, they used the same fuel. There's hydrogen in both vehicles, so that I think that part makes me nervous when, just because you're under a minute does not necessarily mean you're going to get a launch.
Yep,
but,
it's very finicky.
Yeah, very, very finicky. It has it's been explained to me that it has to do with hydrogen being such a small atom, right? Because it's hard to keep contained because it's such a small atom, and it can leak through the tiniest cracks, right?
Yeah, you're right. Is that more benzene?
Sounds like it. Do we have it on any of our other cameras, Patrick?
And it stops immediately. There is still the engine vents, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what's the deal with that.
Well,
Yeah,
so have we seen where those where the workers popped up? I saw them go towards the suborbital pad, but I don't see them on this view. You guys spotted them anywhere?
It's hard to see.
I can't see any right here. I mean, I would assume they wouldn't be getting too close to the vehicle if it's actively venting.
All right. Well, while we watch, I know a lot of y'all in the chat, you guys are here for a lot of these streams, and you may, want to show some support, but you may want to have something tangible that you can hold in your hand or wear on your torso. Look at this. Yeah. Look, the road to Artemis. I love this design. It's so cool. And then
Black diamonds.
Yeah, I almost said shock diamonds. The mock diamonds.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, so, you can always go over to shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Look at this. This is really cool. And it's got little explanations on there. It's so neat. But yeah, it's a way to show support, have something tangible, if you're a t-shirt collector, this is great. There's all kinds of spaceflight t-shirts out there. And, I like this Sunsea and Starbucks.
I love the metal prints too.
Yeah.
I believe Chris has always good words about that. He says, "Oh, this is amazing. I put it with magnets, with the accent and everything. It's really amazing. I'm kind of joking here, but it is truly amazing. They are really good."
Yeah,
my
metal
favorite's
prints.
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say, my favorite's the Ship 24 is alive. I actually have that right on my wall in my college dorm. It makes a very, very nice decoration piece.
Oh, look, and they've got one of my Atlas V ones on there too.
Yeah, you're there too.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
a wide
variety.
Really cool. It was sort of like a daytime streak? Because I knew that, Atlas V, when it's got solids on there, it leaves a smoke trail. And a lot of us photographers, you guys have all seen them, the streak shots, which are, multiple minutes long. Oh, we got some venting going on. Is that just tank farm activity, or what is that?
I believe it is tank farm activity, but that sounds more like overall tank farm activity. It's hard to see though from the other views that we have. I'm also looking at SBL, by the way.
Yeah, I forgot. I've got that open in another tab.
Yeah, see, we also have the camera views on SBL. We usually center here about where the action is, but you can also see more views. We will leave that open on the SPL feed on the Starbase Live 24/7 live stream. So if you can also have that on another tab and watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, very helpful. Like, if you're, it's a little more difficult to do if you're on mobile, but if you're sitting at a computer, you can just have multiple tabs open. You can have us talking in your ear, and you can also have Starbase Live going. You can also have McGregor Live or Fleet Cam going.
Yeah, I actually have a tab group just for all our live streams. Not kidding.
Oh, yeah?
It's called NSF Stuff. Oh, no, actually, NSF Streams. There you go.
Nice.
Fleet Cam, McGregor, Starbase. It's crazy.
Yeah, so be like Alex and make a tab group just for NSF streams.
Yeah, that's weird. That venting.
We're just like hunting for the vent. Where is that vent?
It's just on the other side of the tanks.
Yeah.
I believe we do have the mic a little bit more closer to the overall tank from this time around. So I was wondering that in that case, because it was like, that's too loud to probably be from the suborbital one. You never know, right?
Yeah. And even on this view, you can't really see where the workers went. I thought that we would see them poking around down there, around the base of the ship.
Yeah, I don't really see anything. I'm wondering maybe this is a GSE problem, or I know there's some, I guess like electrical bunkers on towards the right side of the camera behind that that concrete wall, and there's some like electrical bunkers. Maybe something there. Not sure.
All right. Let's hit a couple more questions. I know Ian is going to have to jump out of here soon, but can you hang around for a couple more minutes?
All good.
All right. I can't help but go silent when I hear the venting. All right. V-Pool, this is a question from a little while ago, asking, has Ship 24 lost any tiles?
I don't believe so, but I have not been keeping an extreme track of tiles anymore, sadly.
Yeah.
But it seemed that during the static fire test, there weren't any tile losses. I think there was one that cracked that I noticed, but apart from that, I don't think there's as many tile losses as there were on, like, say, Ship 20, which is a good improvement.
Yeah, it would be really cool if the dropping tiles thing was behind us, right?
Yeah, that might be good for when, you want to land your Starship and get your crew home and your payloads home.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's do some other questions. William Lydiard. How many metric tons of fuel does it take for initial... Oh, wait. We already... Oh, I think... Okay. I think... Same question, or basically same question from the same person there. Yeah, so we did answer that. And I don't even remember, what was it, 120,000 pounds or something crazy?
Yeah, 1,200 tons of fuel.
Tons. All right, and Digital 101. Will Starship be the new shuttle?
I guess.
Is that a
Go
loaded
ahead,
question?
Alex.
My remark was going to be very short. I was gonna say if you ask Chris, he will tell you yes. It's like Shuttle 2.0 or something.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's at least
See,
in
he
my
says yes on chat.
Yep. At least in my mind, I hope that it's going to be everything the shuttle was intended to be back in the 60s and 70s, like quickly reusable, safe, and cheap. I hope it can do all of those.
All right. Trash Monster saying, did any of you get your Artemis 1 ticket? Add your name onto the Artemis 1 USB.
I did, I think.
Yeah, it's been so long. I remember when the invitations went out to do that. I think I did it. I know I did it for Perseverance.
Okay, we heard you. Whatever you thing was venting.
Whatever you are, we heard you.
Like it's like Ouija.
Okay, we have another very important comment here from Guffey, Scotland. To add some clarity to the bacon debacle, European bacon is from a different cut and is more meat than fat. We call U.S. bacon streaky bacon and isn't as popular as meat is good. All right. So
Interesting. Okay.
so the
Streaky
debate
bacon.
continues. Yeah, streaky bacon.
I'd be totally willing to try it.
I do like
Alright.
low fat.
I mean, I like it with a lot of fat in it. I don't. That's all right. Well, I think now is a good time to let Ian take a leave, and I guess do other things. What do you have? You have a life outside of commentating on these streams? Unbelievable.
Unfortunately, college takes a lot out of you, and it's just started back up. So,
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining in, and have a good rest of your evening.
yeah, it was great being here. I hope you see something cool, and have a great rest of your night, everyone.
You later.
See ya.
All right, Alex. Just me and you now.
Yeah, indeed. Now it's gonna be very, very intimate between us and the public, with that venting going on.
Yeah.
We're still trying to find it.
Yeah, we're looking. I'm guessing it's probably over on the orbital side where the mic is. Oh, wait.
Oh,
Wait
it
a
open.
minute. The barrier is gone.
well,
Oh, folks. Y'all know what that means. Road open to the public means they are done. Is there any chance, Alex, in your experience, have they ever opened the road to the public and then reclosed it again?
not to my knowledge. At least maybe once, but I don't remember. I don't really remember. No, I'm trying to make memory of that, but no, I don't think so. So yeah, well, that's a pity. We haven't seen any testing today, but they tried. That's the intention.
Ian got out of here just in time, didn't he?
Yeah, he got out right in time.
Well, folks, you know we appreciate you coming along for the ride and being here and tuning in and listen to us wax poetic about American versus European bacon. It's still not 100% clear, but we do appreciate everyone trying to make it more clear. Streaky bacon, I guess, is what I eat. I do want to go through some remaining super chats because we definitely appreciate your support. We could not do this without y'all's support. We have John Pelmieri becoming a flight engineer member. Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
That's the highest level.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Thank you very much, John. And another John. Oh, John Depker, the one whose name apparently I say correctly. Also upgrading to launch director. So, wow, thank you very much. We definitely appreciate that. And then Blake Alexander with a cool $20 saying fat is good. Yeah, I mean, you know, I like steak with a lot of fat. I like my bacon with a lot of fat. It just tastes good. I like it. And with that, that's going to clear out our super chat queue. Thank you so much for joining us and for the support that y'all have shown us. And even if you can't support, you know, just watch the ad at the beginning. We definitely appreciate it. It helps. And so for now, I believe we're going to head on out of here and throw you over to Starbase Live so you can keep an eye on Ship 24 and Booster 7 and this beautiful sunset that's happening right now over in Boca Chica.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
pressure looks good.
Following up.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
Yikes, you bet, concur. We're back with a little live stream. It's all happening. We've now got Booster 7 being lifted by the Chopsticks as well. The Chopsticks are back in action. Booster 7 is being lifted back onto the orbital launch mount, and we're looking forward to a static fire campaign with the booster in the coming days and weeks. So we're doing a live stream, because it's always fun when there's a chopstick lift. And we're joined, first of all, 5x5 in chats. I forget to do the dash trick of the 5x5, but I already see them. So that's a good sign. We're joined on stream by Alex. Say hello, Alex.
Hello, everyone. What's up?
And you lucky people, we've got Nick as well. Say hello, Nick.
Hey, how is everybody doing? Woo! Got another booster lift.
Yeah.
Hopefully this time with the chopsticks. Hopefully nothing breaks.
And
Hopefully
this time...
This happens quickly.
And this time, Nick, we've got 33 engines on the aft. So this is basically deconfiguration. There's a very fair chance. This is the last. I mean, I'm probably tempting fate here. It's potentially the last time Boost 7 rolls out before its launch, if everything goes well.
Don't jinx it.
Oh no, I always jinx things, but I think this time we can be quite positive because they've learned a lot from the previous campaigns, such as the Spring Prime test that ended up being a bit explodey. But now they've obviously learned from that. They've got everything back in. They took it out with 20 engines. They've done a test. They've got some good milestones in the bag. They've brought it back to High Bay 2, otherwise known as the Mega Bay, which I don't like. I still don't like that name, but there we go. And then they've rolled it back out again. So now it has all 33 engines. There's a good chance this is its flight configuration. If it all goes well with the static fire tests, Ship 24 joins the pack and becomes a full stack. You never know. All it has to do is get Elon to do a tweet saying, we've got our launch license. We're setting blah, blah date for the launch attempt, the orbital launch attempt, and everyone will cheer. And then we probably have about several scrubs during that launch day. But eventually, there's a good chance this thing will rise into the sky as the world's most powerful and biggest rocket. Not too long after the next all-powerful biggest rocket, which is the SLS, has launched. It's an incredible situation where within a matter of weeks or months, maybe, we might see the two biggest rockets ever to be launched, literally just within a short time frame from each other. I'm rambling on. So I'm going to tell everyone in chat, if you've got any questions, do at NASA Spaceflight, and we'll go through our panel list and we'll basically try and answer the best we can on what we hear. But right now, we're just watching this. I'm keeping one eye on the booster because if it starts rising at the pace, we want to be concentrating on that rather than questions. But we'll take some questions to start with. Brian asks, how many engines are on booster right now? Waha! You kind of like asked the question as I was answering it. It's 33 engines now. It's got its full flight set. And it had previously had 33 on it, but then it had a spin prime test and that went quite badly. They took it back. They took out some engines. They did some repairs and they rolled it back out with 20 engines. And that's when they did 2 static fire tests, both single Raptors. One was the longest in fact, firing of a Raptor on the orbital launch start compared to the ones at, say, McGregor, because McGregor, they fire them a much longer durations as it is. And then they've rolled it back. They've taken it to the Mega Bay. I mentally refuse to call it the Mega Bay. The Mega Bay. They've installed the rest of the engines, the center engines, and they've rolled it back out. So it's now got 33 engines on it.
Which is exactly how many we need if we want to lift this thing off that ground that it's been sitting on for a while. I saw a little tweet a little bit ago. The person was like, "We see lots of back and forth. When will it go up?" That is what we're all waiting for here.
Well, from experience, Nick, I'll throw this question to you first of all, and then we'll expand on it with the chopstick lift. Nutalum, that's his name or her name, asks, "Is this the first chopstick lift?" Now we know it's not, but I'm going to safely assume you were there for the first time chopsticks lifted a booster. Am I correct, Nick?
I was probably here for that, but whether or not I remember that, I don't know. They all kind of blur together, to be honest. After you sit outside sweating in the sunlight for 50 or 60 times, it all just kind of blurs together. I'm pretty sure that they have done it with the booster before. I believe they didn't have any engines on it, though, if I recall correctly.
Right.
But maybe it did. Again, I can't remember. But I know for sure they've done it with the Starship twice now. So they've done a Starship chopstick stack twice. I know that is a fact. And likely, I guess we do know this is a fact as well. This is the first time a booster's been lifted onto the orbital launch mount with 33 Raptor engines ready to go.
Alex, can you remember the last time the chopsticks were employed on the booster? I would talk... We're trying to get to the bottom of whether or not this is the first time with 33 engines that a booster's been lifted by the chopsticks. Was it lifted literally before the spring prime test with the chopsticks? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it was lifted with the chopsticks back then. Yep.
Right. Go on, Alex.
I think it was. Hold up. Off the top of my head, I think it was June, on the 3rd week of June, somewhere around that. I know it was after the FAA released, because we were all tired, and then suddenly Booster 7 rolled out. It was like, haha, yeah, more stuff that we have to cover.
Did that have Raptors, though? I can't remember.
Yeah, it had all 33 Raptors.
Had all 33? Okay.
I'm actually going to be looking for the, I believe we have the live
Too
stream.
bad there wasn't like some videos that we could go back and look on at, like, you know,
Yeah, right.
months ago.
It's
from,
almost like
every
we have that.
day.
Everybody check out the channel for all your videos you'll ever wish to see. Mary and Nick are out there all hours.
It was
Crazy amount of hours, and they are getting what is called original content. You will see as popularity grows with Starship, there'll be lots and lots of YouTube channels where they don't use original content. Ours is original content, so always keep that in mind when you appreciate the amount of effort that Mary and Nick and the editors put in to create these videos each day. I'm going to pin the latest one into chat just to make my point. But I wanted to ask Nick a question about the chopsticks, which I got too long-winded with. Is you see these things up close and personal as you're there?
I mean, as close as you can get.
Try and point to words what this looks like, because on a live stream like this, obviously you get a scale of it. It's massive, but up close and personal, is it? I wonder if you can just describe to people who've never been there, what this launch tower is like.
You know, from this distance, this view that we're looking at from one of our more southernly located cameras, they kind of look like they're made out of, straws, like your typical bendy straws that we don't use anymore because we want to protect the environment. But, those they look like they're little itsy bitty tubes. But probably the best sense of scale that I've gotten with the chopsticks was back when they were building them. They were delivering the parts for the chopsticks, and I remember one of the trucks had pulled off in front of the huge Starbase sign, and I was able to walk up all around it, and I didn't touch anything, but you can get pretty close to it. And my goodness, those things are about as big around. The larger pieces are about as big around as a small car, and they're really thick steel. And it was absolutely shocking to see the scale of it up close. And that's really something that only the workers get to experience at this point, because even from all the public viewing spots that we have, like where we have some cameras around, you can't really appreciate that sort of scale until you see an itsy bitsy little grain of rice or person up there. And it's like, oh my goodness, these things are huge, but they are designed to catch the world's biggest rocket. So I guess, they should be pretty big.
Absolutely. And I've got kind of a joint question here where Kevin Bradford asked, do your spreadsheets track the timing of the lift, stabilizers engaged, first movement, last movement, chopsticks disengaged? Well, we need Adrian on this stream, because we'd also got a question from a 2-month Red Team member, which is how many total engines have been fired on a booster or ship at one time to date? Great coverage, thanks. Well, thanks for your long-term support, by the way. But first of all, the timing of the list will change. I don't think there's any set timeline. They'll go at their own pace, and they'll have measurements galore all around the launch tower and the chopsticks, making sure everything's looking great. As they found out with the hydraulic leak, they obviously knew they had to stop using the chopsticks at that point. So there's lots and lots of things in play there. So I don't think we could do a spreadsheet on that. We could do a spreadsheet on the total engines that have been fired. I think there's a question about all of them in total, or the booster or ship at one time till date. Today, I'm sure that's today. If I was looking for a total amount of engines fired, we'd have to go back to SN6, the engine SN6 on Hopper, which conducted the Hopper test. So that's a lot of engines. And also you can include, if we're going to go away from just the vehicles, we can include the ones at McGregor.
Yeah,
we're talking hundreds. We're talking hundreds. So it's impressive for what is a new engine.
Definitely. And probably at this point, I don't know this to be true, but probably at this point, close to an hour, if not more, of engine static fire time between all of the different engines that they've been testing, both here and at McGregor. It's crazy how much data they have on these engines, and they're still so new. We are all excited about SLS flying in just a couple of weeks, or I guess less than a week now. And those are using the RS-25 engines, which have been around for a long time. And Chris, how many times did the RS-25 engines fly?
As you've flown, you're talking about 135 missions times 3. So that's how many times the engines have flown, but they've flown several times with each orbiter. So the actual stock of RS-25s, the SSMEs, such as the ones that are flying with SLS, one has flown 8 times. So it's literally, they are veteran engines. Alex?
So those are the pins that are on the. This is a little bit complicated to explain, but on the stand there are two pins, two guiding pins that help lift the booster without the engines hitting the stand, and I believe that's one of the pins already in on the hydraulic power unit cover. So we'll see. Seems like definitely it's ready to go up, but hard to see. We saw it going up a little bit before we went live, and it might actually be going slowly up. Maybe I'm seeing things, but definitely keeping an eye on it. Continue.
Continue. I've lost my train of thought now. No, the RS-25s. Yeah, the space shuttle main engines, which they now insist on calling the RS-25s because they want to kind of move away from the shuttle history, which is fair enough. They are called the RS-25Ds. They are reusable units. They were designed to be reusable, so that when they came back on the orbiter, you'd see on the landing strip on the SLF, you will see the engines, 3 engine nozzles altogether, move downwards quite a fair amount. That was to drain what was left in them to protect them ahead of being uninstalled and installed for the next flight. And they would swap them between orbiters. They would not fly with one orbiter. They'd swap them between the 2 or 3. So they're incredible engines, but they are single use now by all definition because they are going to end up in the ocean, and that is sad. I personally like the idea of them going out as a Viking funeral, one rather than being stuck in a big glass cage, being poked at by tourists. That's just me, because there are other RS-25s on display, so it's not like you're never going to see another one ever again. But the new engines they're building, Aerojet Rocketdyne, they're under contract to build new engines, and they are called the RS-25Es. It's just a funny fact that they're called the E's, but that could be classed as expendable because they are going to be single use and they are slightly cheaper. They've got less things on them. They're very much like the Raptor V2 in the sense that they've taken things out of it to remove the reusability, whereas Raptor V2 will still be reusable. It's an incredible engine, sort of like head mess when you get into it deeply. But I always loved the story. I always loved the story about the Aerojet Rocketdyne. They got paid a lot of money with the transition and retirement funds to shut down the RS-25 line, the production line, at the end of shuttle. It was like a kind of like, we're under contract, but we're going to pay you $1 billion to shut down your production. And this is why, you know, we're retiring the shuttle. This is to kind of tide you through. Literally within a few years, they got paid another $1 billion to restart the production line because RS-25 was back. So there's a joke going around the space industry that
must have been a happy day for.
Well, the joke going around the space industry is that Aerojet Rocketdyne saw that coming and they put all their production equipment into like a big cupboard and said, right, we've retired it, thanks very much, thanks for the paycheck, and then got the paycheck again to start it up and they just brought it back out of the cupboard and said, okay, we're ready to go again, we can restart production. Oh, it's crazy. Oh, gift memberships, look at this. Jim Cavett with a gift in a Red Team membership. If you've got that membership, please thank him in chat because he has basically got you that membership. And Robert Hobson, yet again, 20 memberships. Robert, you're crazy, but we like you.
Wow.
Very much appreciate that support.
Golly.
Alex, are you keeping an eye on these pins?
Yeah, I'm trying to look for it, but sometimes we have the wide view. It's still there. It's not
still
moving.
there. Well, the boost's still there. That's good news.
Well, yeah, right?
The launch tower has not moved.
Oh, we're going to have some launch guesses now. I think the first one from Austin, I think he's played on Elon there a little bit. I give the orbital flight of Starship 2 weeks. Well, that is the Elon joke that things are 2 weeks away. But let's go around the houses first. Nick, when do you think, as a guess, at the best, say everything goes to plan, everything goes right, the best possible opportunity on a date for the orbital launch attempt? Throw a date at me.
Well, I'll throw a date at you. Let's say, I don't know, February 31st.
Ooh, next year.
March number 19th. There you go. two dates that don't exist because I don't know when this thing is going to launch.
But plot twist, you're going next year.
But Nick, this is a moment of you throwing a dart to the air and be like, whatever it lands, it lands. If you want to say a date, just say a date.
Okay, I'll say a date. How about this? I'll say middle of October. Okay.
Oh, right. Hang on.
Let's be even more specific. Let's even be more specific. Let's say Halloween. Let's put it Halloween. Elon's doing AI Day on Halloween, so he's gonna go ahead and come straight from Boca after a successful orbital launch straight into AI Day. That's my prediction.
I like that. That's a fantastic Halloween surprise. Alex, have a guess.
Oh. I'm gonna say November, December, and potentially 2023. Like, I can see that happening. But yeah, November, December. I'm gonna say.
Right.
Yeah, those dates. Like, you can take probably the middle, like end of November, beginning of December. But I can see it happening either November or December. But I can also see it happening on the next year. But
right, my guess is November the 14th. So you can quote me on that.
That's a good spread then.
It's ambitious. It is ambitious because a lot of things need to go right. But that's the premise of the question: is if everything goes right, when do you think it can launch? I think the 14th of November. That does not include attempts because I'm on a strong belief, and including SLS, I honestly don't think SLS will launch in the first couple of attempts. It's just there's way too much complexity going on with that one. Where even last night during the post FRR presser, they were saying they've never got below T-minus 29 seconds, even in WDR. So everything passed, and that's absolutely the biggest point of the launch. That's when auto sequence is in play, and the computer can trip up anything on thousands and thousands of things. For that to go smoothly all the way through to launch, I give it very little chance. I think Jack Black will be rehired to come back out on multiple occasions. It really is. That's important to really stress because a lot of people who have never gone to a launch will go into this launch because it's a big launch, and they'll be thinking this is going to launch tonight, great, or today, this morning, blah 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 blah, and it doesn't, and they get all disappointed. Fully expect it to scrub. I fully expect to scrub. So, well, we'll see. You never know. I'm often proven wrong.
Chris, don't say that. I'm about to leave for Florida soon. Come on.
Oh, sorry about that.
I might not go now just because of that.
But it's the same thing with Starship.
It is.
When that launch day comes, people are going to sort of like basically say, it's going to be all this is launch day set. Brilliant. Look forward to this launch. There's every chance it'll scrub several times, Starship, especially with all the complexity of the 33 engines starting up on full power as well. There's so much involved. The 33 engine static fire test is a big, big thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For SLS, I think the same. It's going to be at least a couple of times, but I will gladly be okay being wrong. Like, yeah, if we see a launch on the 29th, I will be perfectly okay with that.
It's exciting times, isn't it? It is exciting times. These are massive rockets. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. Saturn V is the nearest, but these are both more powerful. It's absolutely incredible. I just want to quickly thank some people who are supporting us, which is absolutely appreciated and why we can do this. Mike has become a Red Team member. Rough Riders Show a regular. Why do you think the soonest a fit check will happen at Starbase? When do you think the soonest fit check will happen at 39A? Thanks to Mary and Nick for deploying these multiple portable cameras.
Well, you're quite welcome, Rough Rider. Thanks for your support.
Alex, when do you think we'll see the first fit checks of Starship at 39A? I think it's a long way off, isn't it? Because there's a lot of work to do yet.
Yeah, I know they're kind of a little bit very optimistic with that time frame. But I'm going to say Q1 2023. That could be probably, Q1 2023, like probably more towards March 2023. And before I said to Nick, hey, throw a date to the air, like I have a $5 bet with people about the orbital launch date for Starship. And I actually voted December 31st, even though I know it is not possible because it was like the closest that the person that gets closest
Yeah.
wins the bid. So it was like, yeah, I'm gonna vote December 31st. So if you want to take that, you can take that.
Well, seeing how I moved down here to Boca Chica, Brownsville area over a year ago, expecting a Starship launch imminently, I better not make any bets.
It's a fair point, that, Nick, because, I mean, Alex, you'll remember this as well. The original orbital velocity attempt was last summer, wasn't it, Alex? They were thinking of last summer.
Yep.
So, yeah, I can understand why you're expecting that, but unfortunately, things have happened. But I will caveat that with the point that they've learnt a lot over that period till now. So that gives... There's every possibility you could have launched last summer and it had blown up 10 seconds after launch. This time round, because they've learned so much more since, and they've redesigned a lot of things since, including the change in the engines to the Raptor V2, there's every more chance it'll be successful. Again, they might lose the vehicle at a certain point during ascent, they might lose it during staging, they might lose it during re-entry, but everything is data points and very valuable. If it gets to staging, I think that's a win straight away. That's just, you can instantly call that a win for a test flight. Compared to SLS, where they need to probably get the thing at least to a point where Orion is testing its heat shield on re-entry. If they don't get around the moon, fair enough. They could probably go high elliptical orbit and try and bring it back at high velocity and test the heat shield. That'll be classed as a kind of a win. But there's more pressure on SLS. There really is. It's especially with the next one still at the factory at Mashoud. It's with Starbase, you've got the next vehicle down Highway 4. It's
technically still in the factory. Booster is technically
crazy.
still in the Mega Bay factory.
Absolutely crazy. Oh, more super chats. Wow. Again, we read out super chats because it's obvious thing. It's the obvious thing to do. We've got to thank people for supporting us, because without that support, we could not do this. It's simple as that. So that's why we really want to make sure we thank everybody who does the super chat and supports us. Launch November, full static fire will have issues, claims Stephen Fairs. I think that's quite fair. Pun intended.
I can't think of a single rocket launch that didn't have some issues. Even some of the most successful launches had a few little itsy bitsy issues.
Even the 100% successful Atlas V, that has had issues. Yep. That had an underperformance of a booster where the Centaur saved it during a Cygnus mission. Centaur burned longer and saved a mission. They've had underperformance on an orbital velocity target, which is where Tory's bullseye tweets come in every single time now, because he wants to make a point that everything is bang on target now. But that's classed as 100%. And Elon was famous at some congressional hearings saying, well, they can't claim 100% because of that. But that's what they do. But if even Atlas V has had issues, every rocket, it's hard. It's the old saying, rockets are hard. Joshua DePay, you've become a Capcom member. We'll see you in our Discord, the NSF Discord at that rate, and you'll join what is a very active and very friendly community. It's actually very addictive to the point that sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning when I should be sleeping, I'm in there posting videos, sometimes of shuttles, sometimes of horses. Go too deep into that. ATHD Gaming, I can't wait to see them light this candle. You, me, both. Chazzy Mac, Alex, just throw a date. Also, Alex, November, December, maybe 2023.
Yeah, that was the super chat I was sort of referencing before. And I will argue, you made the comment, oh, well, they might have been able to launch last summer. I will say no, because even the tank farm wasn't even complete last summer. I think they had a lot of problems with that too. So, yeah, I think they're actually being able to launch when they're being able to launch. Let's put it that way. I think this is actually the rushed way that people are sort of saying. Sometimes, oh, they could have launched with Booster 4 and Ship 20 and it could have been rushed and everything. This is probably what I think it is, a rushed way in some sense. Just probably not very, very patience.
Oh, and Jinux has gifted 10 gift memberships. This is a new thing, right? That's 10 gift memberships, right? That is basically like a massive super chat, but where you play it forward and pay it forward. You've literally just given 10 people, you've not even picked them, but 10 people have got accept gift on their profile to become a Red Team member and get access to what is quite a lot of content because I put it on, so I know what's going on there. It's photographs from Nick, who's on our stream with us right now, and Mary, and preview clips, even SLS pictures because we're getting lots of SLS content from KSC. We've got McGregor stuff on there. We've got lots of things we've not yet published in there as well. So it's quite a hefty Red Team area, a YouTube membership area. So as soon as you accept those gifts, you will be able to access that additional content. And everybody's happy. Lord Nick Flash... Lord Nick Flashheart Woof Woof. That is his username. Thank you for your support.
Wow.
That is an amazing username. Do you think Starship will eventually get names like shuttles? What would you name one? Oh... First of all, wonderful YouTube username. Secondly, thank you for mentioning Shoal. I think they will eventually. We were talking about that earlier, about Heart of Gold was one of the first names that Elon had mentioned in reference to a Starship. And that's obviously deep into the future. But I do like the idea of reusable vehicles having names. It's just a shuttle thing. What names would we prefer? I think he might go for that theme of I forget the author of the Hitchhiker's Guide, the books he likes. Of Course I Still Love You, Shortfall of Gravitas, Just Read the Instructions. Ian Banks, there we go. Got there in the end. My brain was catching up very slowly there. I think he'll go with that theme. That's very Elon-like. But I think once you start calling them Booster 50 and Ship 73, it gets a bit monotonous after a while. I think if he had some flagship crew mission starships, that'd make sense to give them names. The regular Starlink up and downers, I think maybe you can keep them with just designations, but the crew spaceships, I think they'll give to proper names. What do you think, guys? Nick first.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I think that all starships should have names beyond just their serial numbers. As much as we, love the numbers. You look back at the old World War II aircraft and bombers and stuff. They all had like those nose art names and fun pictures that they'd make up on the nose. And I was at an air show a little while ago, and I saw one of those stainless steel.
I think Nick is a little bit robotic there.
Whoa, Nick's going a bit robotic.
It had a name on it, and I was just like, oh, that's so fitting. We need to have some fun art. We
got most of that. Actually, he timed it quite well with the where Sorry, it's back.
I think they should do nose art as a...
Yeah, Nick, you went a bit roboty just for a bit. That's all. That's why we're talking over you. It's not being rude. We went a bit blank with the old roboty voice there for a second, but we got most of that. Alex, what do you think about names on starships?
I think it would be cool to have that for crewed starships, but for cargo and tankers and all that, I think I'll stick with the serial numbers. Sort of like Crew Dragon, right? It's like the Crew Dragons actually have a name, whereas the Cargo Dragons are like C208 or something. Like I think that's the one that flew on CRS-25 this past month. So yeah, I think that makes sense, right?
It does, yeah. Right, let's take some questions here. We got Paul Waters asked, have all the license requirements been met? We don't know. I was asked this question before about the environmental assessment report with its list of recommendations, a lot of which were related to sea turtles and things like that, and local wildlife. And we saw clues that SpaceX had already probably read some of those points because we'd seen like the turtle control SpaceX little Jeep, which is basically already there. And that was something we remembered when we saw that listed in the environmental assessment report. So there's a good chance they've gone through that list. We don't know. There's a good chance they've gone through that list. They then need a launch license, which is separate. That is a completely separate thing. A lot of people got excited about an FCC document, which kind of claimed a launch window, but that is not the same thing either. So there's no signs that they're having struggles with it, because I think Elon might have by now mentioned something on Twitter, just like, oh, the FAA, they could go faster or whatever. Like, he did that before with the hops So there's a precedence for that where he can sometimes claim on Twitter that he's waiting for documentation over hardware, but we know that's not the case right now because they're still waiting for the hardware. They're a long way off before they get to that point where they're held up on the pad as a full stack waiting to launch and waiting for a permit to arrive. So that's a future question, really, but there's no real way to know offhand because that's very much private information that only SpaceX will know. Richard Sudworth, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Jesse Bear, how much should we read into SpaceX modifying the FCC Gen 2 Starlink deployment to include F9 again, as opposed to Surly Starship? Alex, that's one definitely for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was thinking about the question. Yeah, so the deployment stuff for Starlink and Falcon 9, that's a little bit tricky. I think it all comes down to having the Starlink constellation, the second generation of Starlink, just being deployed ASAP, to be able to provide that new capability. Now, there's one difference here. The Starlinks, the second generation of Starlink, that's not approved yet. It hasn't been approved by the FCC. So even if they wanted to launch it tomorrow on Falcon 9, they can't because they don't have that license. However, I think, and don't quote me on that, but I believe they can probably do away with that if they launch it to the first constellation. It's a little bit tricky because it's very, this paperwork can be a little bit nitpicky with what you do. Like if it's technically not going to the orbits of the second generation and it's going to the ones on the first generation, well, you can probably kind of go around the regulations in that sense. I believe that can be possible, but I do have not much information about that. But we'll see what happens. It's certainly, I do have heard that this is a very recent change. It's not really it's not many months ago. No, this is probably a month or so ago that they did this change. But it makes sense. Starship is not flying, and they need those Starlinks up there to be able to provide internet. So, yay, internet rocket go, I guess.
Kind of related, but also there's two questions here separately as well. But Drew asks, thanks for the good coverage. Thank you for your support. Two questions. Any indications the first Starship launch will have a payload? Starlink V2. So do you think they're going to put 3 or 4, maybe 6 Starlink V2s on Chip 24, Alex?
Yeah, I think that they could probably get a few of them. We haven't seen much yet. I believe we have only seen perhaps one being put inside. I believe we saw that when they did that test at the high bay. But yeah, it's again, as I said, it's a little bit complicated because we don't have a lot of insight into what happens here, and so it gets to a point where everything is just a speculation. And also we saw, I think Nick caught a few weeks ago, and correct me if I'm wrong here. I think Nick was capturing a few weeks ago a truck with satellites going out of the production building that they have there, the new building for Starlink integration on the box, the white box there for loading. Yeah, right. And so that actually, well, go ahead, Nick. I'm going to let you speak for a while.
Sorry, I should clarify really quick. We don't know for sure that Starlinks were on board as they were departing, but I will say they went to great lengths not to open up the box. So I would imagine that that is the shipping truck box. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that will make sense. And excuse me. I will actually think, if they're going to launch these downsized satellites on Falcon 9, wouldn't it make sense to launch them on Starship and just have more satellites inside a Starship instead of the big bulky ones? They probably provide more stuff, more bandwidth. I was trying to work out that word. But I guess you could launch more and make up for that. Like it's something I have actually been asked this many times, and I would like to know you guys what you think. But it's actually a fair question, I think.
And the other part of the question was, have we seen any earthworks for Pad 49? Yeah, for Tower 3. We haven't, have we? And basically, there's a good chance it could be 2 towers there, Tower 3 and 4, because LC-49, according to the NASA assessment, which is ongoing right now, and it should probably pass quite well because it's Kennedy Space Center, it was looking like it could have the space for 2 towers if they needed that for the cadence they're requiring. Remember that Starbase is going to be a development site, so there won't be many launches from Starbase in comparison to the East Coast, where they'll have LC-39A, LC-49 eventually, potentially 2 there, the oil rigs as well, and maybe even another site on the East Coast. There's lots of East Coast potential there.
One thing that I will point out, though, we recently did a flyover where we actually looked at the grounds where the Future 49 will be, and there was no work, like nothing at all. And that place is a swamp. Like it's way worse than Boca Chica was when they began. That region will take a long time to be able to have any sort of pad infrastructure in there. That's going to take a long time. So I don't think any tower or any pad or anything that's going to be probably in the future is going to be imminent there just because of that. Like it will take probably a whole year just to prepare that area. It's what I think. It's really hard. It's a very bad place.
Steve has become a Padrat member. Thank you. And Stingray as well has become a Padrat member. And Thinking Thing. Some great usernames on today. Thinking Thing has become a Red Team member. Very much appreciated. What is Ryan? We know Ryan. Ryan Rebber asked, problems with the tank farm, you say? Did I miss that part of the live stream where we mentioned something wrong with the tank farm?
I don't recall saying that, but
there we go. No idea.
There's no more problems.
William Green says I might have missed it, but didn't the Starship survive its static fire test without losing any tiles? Okay. Also, I'm predicting November 9th just because it's my birthday. We'll pass it on to Elon to give it a target. Look, we've got to look after his birthday, so let's try and launch it on that day. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing though, as far as the static fire tests on Ship 24, the recent ones, there wasn't any noticeable TPS liberation, which, sorry, I explain what TPS is. Thermal protection system, which is the tiles, the black tiles. We didn't see any of those fall off en masse. There was certainly nothing noticeable. We might have lost 1 or 2, but we didn't notice it. Nick, in your views of Ship 24, does it look like it's pretty much all intact as far as the tiles go?
Well, I just did a what is it called? It's not a pan, it's a tilt. Thank you, Jack. It's a tilt. Yes. I just did a tilt of 24 this morning, and I did notice that there were a couple tiles that looked like they'd come off at some point. Whether or not that was the most recent static fire or not, I haven't gone back and looked at pictures. But yeah, as of today, there was at least 2 tiles that were looking a little white as opposed to nice and black and shiny. So yeah, it's they're more fragile than you think.
Tell you what, Nick, I do like tilts. So there's a very good chance.
Every time I do want to think of you.
Yes, because there's a very good chance that's going to end up as a member clip in the Red Team memberships and above.
Hey,
I did not do it on purpose. It's just you mentioned tilt. I thought, oh, that sounds good. So that's my thinking after I get off this live stream. But yeah, it's also worth mentioning. I've mentioned it several times before, but I'll mention it again. Is that when they do static fire tests, it's bolted down to the mulch mount, and that induces more vibrations through the whole vehicle, and that can cause tiles to wobble off because the vibrations are stronger compared to launch. At least the first part of launch, when it's going through the max Q, which is the maximum area of aerodynamic pressure, it can really be a stressful time for the vehicle, and that'll be a test of TPS as well. Then the final test is obviously when it's re-entry, and if they get to that point anyway, it's a win because that's obviously gone very much along the test profile, and it's going to splash down near Hawaii anyway, so it's not like they need to bring it back and land it. If it does lose during re-entry, shall we say, then that's not a great shakes, really, in the bigger picture. It'll get a lot of data from their TPS. So yeah, it's an interesting question, but so far so good compared to the earlier days where tiles were falling off in the wind. They've certainly improved that. Russell Snodgrass, $100 super chat. Wow. Thank you, Russell.
Jeez.
That's a crazy
My
amount of money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Asks the question as well, will we see a 33 engine spin prime and or pre-burner before a 33 static fire, a 6 engine static fire before stacking ship 24? Right, let's take that down because it's several points there.
Yeah.
Will we see a 33 engine spin prime or pre-burner test next?
I'd imagine that would probably be something they want to do at some point. Whether that's next or not, we don't really know. I mean, it's entirely possible they want to do another set of 1 engine static fires, or possibly bump it up to 13 or something like that before they go for all the engines. But I guarantee you they're going to do a bunch of spin primes on all these engines before they do a static fire, because as we know, with the N1 rocket back in with the Soviets, they had a problem starting so many engines. Now, obviously, things are a lot different now with the computers and the Raptor being a lot more sophisticated. But still, that's a lot of Raptors to start up all at once. So they're going to want to do a couple tests with that.
I personally think they will go for the full spin prime test with the 33, and then probably a pre-burner with a 33 before they even consider doing a 33 static fire test. And I also think the second part of that question is, will they do the 6 engine test on ship 24? I think that was in the planning. We were expecting that the other week, and it never happened. So I think that's still outstanding as a test. Alex, what do you think?
I subscribe every word that Nick said. I don't think I should repeat that.
Wow.
I know I talk a lot, but
Wow.
but I
right.
totally agree.
Hang on,
Yeah.
Chris got something right.
No, I said to Nick.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
fair
He said other
enough.
things.
That makes
He
more
said other
sense. Yeah.
things. I may or may not agree. But yeah, Nick put it very, very, very well. Yeah.
Well,
I
thanks,
agree.
Alex. I'll give you your piece of bacon after the stream. Thank you.
Oh, you'll
now I'm
summon
hungry.
Jack.
Awesome.
He's too busy traveling to Florida.
He's on an
Don't
airplane
worry.
right now. He can't hear us. We can talk about bacon all we want.
I can imagine him on the airplane. Ooh, someone is talking about bacon.
He has this little neck pillow on, some noise canceling headphones, and like one of those eyelid mask cover things that says "My Special
Jack.
Princess." And then he just perks up and he's like, "Oh, bacon! Someone said bacon on an NSF stream." And he signs on to the United Airlines crappy in-flight Wi-Fi because it's not Starlink yet, and he has to sit and wait for our live stream to load. We have
I'm
someone to
definitely,
Jack.
I'm definitely recording that part of the live stream. I'm going to send it to Jack by email.
Okay, you might get it.
Yeah. Alex, we were expecting a lift. Why have they not lifted yet?
I think we need a Karen here, right?
Yeah.
Need to speak with the manager.
I'm posting a complaint. I was told there's a lift. We went live because we're
It
expecting
was
a lift.
lifting. It was going up, and I actually shouted like, "Hey, we should go live." But
Why is it stopped then, Alex? Tell me.
I don't know. They must have any problems with that. Like, they usually did a very fast kind of lift in the past when the pins were inserted and the stand hold downs are actually out. We saw that before. And they raised it a little bit, and somehow they haven't gone up. And yeah, like, what's happening, SpaceX? Like, Elon, if you're watching, tweet something.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you look at the very bottom, right next to the booster, a couple minutes ago, I actually saw Jeff Bezos running away with a few Raptors. I bet
No. You got to watch
Oh,
that guy.
no.
Yeah, give him half a chance. He'll nick your engines. Hang on, back to questions. Jacob feels unreal to see SLS launch date under a week, but Orange Rockets are slated to fly. And do cool stuff until the shiny ones are ready. Okay, I think I know where you're going with that. The fun thing is, as I've mentioned probably about 3 times in this live stream already, it's cool. Remember, these two vehicles are going to work together. They're not competitors in that sense. When it comes to Artemis, they're going to work together. Without the two working together, we have no HLS program. That's why SpaceX was selected as the sole partner for Artemis with SLS to land people on the surface of the moon. It's very important both these vehicles do well. There should be no celebrations if SLS goes badly on Artemis 1. No celebrations at all. Because these two are working together. You need these two as a partnership now. yes, there's probably a forward path where it's only Starship, but politically, SLS is very well catered for. It would not work the same way solely with Starship. We've just seen that in the past with commercial. It's taken a lot of effort for NASA to even get to the point where they're buying services. And I think probably SLS is the last NASA rocket we're going to see as far as a NASA-built rocket. I think it will eventually move on to contracting out to the likes of SpaceX, as they've proven to do, and with great success in doing so as well. And I kind of babbled on a little bit because I want to bring in Jack Kerman's question, is will Starship help build the gateway? Alex, can you talk a little bit about Halo and PPE and all that business where the gateway will be built in low lunar orbit, and that will provide a platform for expanding human settlement, even probably on the moon?
Well, actually, the one that is going to be helping build the gateway so far is Falcon Heavy and SLS.
Yep.
Because we have Falcon Heavy launching the first 2 modules, and then SLS will successfully. No, what's the word? Well, it will consecutively, every Artemis mission until it's already built out. It's going to be launching a module, starting with Artemis 4. That's going to be the IHAB, and then on Artemis 5, it's going to be the Sprit. And afterwards, well, there's no more modules. Well, there's one, but it's still TBD, and that's it. That's the gateway. As for the rest, there's actually things going up on Dragon XL. We'll see if that happens. There's been rumors out there that potentially that could be changed to Starship, but we'll see what happens. And Dragon XL is actually being scheduled to launch the Canadian 3, and that's going to be super cool.
I love that, Alex. I lined that question up knowing that Falcon Heavy was involved, and I was just waiting for it to go, actually, it's still SpaceX, but it's Falcon Heavy. That's an amazing part of the Artemis program, isn't it? That it's not just SLS, it's not just Starship, it also is Falcon Heavy. It's incredible that the way that these new rockets have come into play, because I remember back during the early days of SLS was going to launch the gateway elements. And suddenly Falcon Heavy proves itself, even though it's only launched a few times. And that's won the contract for it, which has probably saved Artemis program potentially billions, because an SLS contracted launch is a lot of money compared to a Falcon Heavy launch. So it's an incredible way the path has kind of like spread out a little bit, but almost become economic in that sense, where they can have these plans and they don't have to delay several years while they try and catch up with the funding money. And that's where Falcon Heavy is coming to play. It's a wonderful thing. I get very excited about those things.
That's actually one of the things that kind of makes me a little bit sad of Block 1B of SLS, because it only has actually 2 launches where it's needed, because you can launch Orion on Block 1, right? You don't need the Block 1B, you need Exploration Upper Stage. And they only have 2 launches where they actually have Orion plus something else, which needs Block 1B. So it's like, why build everything like this? Anyways, this is not SLS talk, but I was sort of like thinking out loud here.
A quick run through some support again. Amazing. By the way, again, I'll keep saying it. I will keep saying it as well, because it's important to stress it. But amazing support again on every stream, and this stream is no exception. Ian's become a Red Team member. Thank you. Brilliant has become a Padrat member. Thank you too. Thank you to James Bagwell has become a Red Team member. We've got Iron Man's become a Red Team member. Why do I say member, funnily? I don't know why. Anyway, Lewis Holdworth, thank you for becoming launch director. That's an incredible level of support. Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated.
Wow.
Dan asks, what instrumentation do you know of that SpaceX uses to line up the booster or ship so that it is in a correct position for a lift? Do we know that for a start?
Yeah, it's a pretty complicated process of sticking your nose out there and making sure everything's all lined up. I'm pretty sure they probably hired like a really good person who's really good at video games, like one of those like expert video game winners, because I bet you, knowing Elon, it's just like an Xbox controller that controls all those chopsticks. Like, if I'd guess, that's what the controller looks like. Just a little Xbox.
I want to play
controller.
that game.
That would be a fun game.
They could bring it out for like iPhone or something, couldn't they? Like in the App Store, just like chopstick lifting. I bet somebody's probably working on that.
That's like the dragon docking thing that they have running.
Yes.
They need that too on their website.
I was horrendous at that game. I ended up on the Russian module at one point. I was like, where am I going? This is harder than it looks. And then you get people on Twitter going, I docked it first time, and like, bang on. I thought, yeah, of course you did. You had about 50 attempts more like. Oh, do I hear Thomas arriving?
Potentially.
Aries 1.
Ooh, really? That's the first thing that I get. That's the thing I get to join to is Aries 1. Is that all my reputation is these days?
We've not mentioned Aries 1 at any point during this stream so far.
Somehow, I don't believe you.
It's been an Aries 1 slander-free zone. We've been very careful not to upset you because I desperately want to go home. And I wouldn't want Thomas to say, well, I'm not coming on. He's slandering Aries 1. That's not fair. I'll be like, no. I'm never going to go home.
I'm going to rotate in here. Crispy, thank you for holding down the fort for waiting for this lift to happen. Hopefully we'll get it up here soon. Thanks for hopping on, though.
My pleasure, and my exit will obviously mark the point and I'll start lifting it because that's how it works. But yeah, thanks guys. I'll speak to you all later.
All right, sounds good. All right, who else we got on show? We got Alex and Nick. Alex, how's it going?
Hello, Thomas. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. And Nick, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. A little hot and toasty, and a little disappointed that I'm lifting yet. Yes, it's still cool. We'll sit and chat.
Are you out in the field, or are you in a studio somewhere?
I am in a field studio. How about that?
A field studio. We'll leave it at that. Thanks, Nick, for hopping on, Alex, as well. What were we talking about? I literally just hopped in, and Crispy didn't even give me 30 seconds to understand what was going on. So
we were talking about a bunch of nothing right now. If we can find something else to talk about, Alex, what is going on? Have we seen the pins move? What's the latest there?
Yeah, so before we went live, we saw the hold-on clamps on the stand go out and disconnect from the booster. We saw the booster lifted a little bit, and that's when we actually hit live. And then we saw the pins going in onto the arrow covers for the hydraulic power units, and that's where we are since we went live. So SpaceX lifted already.
So the booster is sitting, it's resting on the chopsticks, correct?
Yep, it's being held down by the chopsticks right now.
But it hasn't actually been lifted off of the transport stand.
No, it's only been a few centimeters.
Okay.
But it was noticeable when we went live, yep.
Gotcha, okay. And of course, the big ticket item here is the fact that Booster 7 now has all 33 of its engines once again, and should be moving back into testing flows for testing some of those newly added engines, and then eventually working its way up to all 33 at once. This is pretty exciting when you think about it. We have the SLS out at the pad here in Florida at 39B. And the other kind of super heavy class, not, no pun intended, rocket that's part of the Artemis program is Starship. And the first orbital test flight of Starship is currently slated to be this booster along with a upper stage ship. And so kind of interesting how the two test flows are aligning here. Yeah, I'm going to have some questions in, so I have the panel up. So again, just a reiteration to everyone in chat. If you've got questions, tag us at NASA Spaceflight. Try to bring as many of those in as we can, and let's start there while we await for Booster 7 to get reinstalled onto the orbital launch mount for more testing. Sound good?
Absolutely.
So, Starship 4000, that's like Ship 24, but several years from now. They're on serial number 4000. Yes. Starship 4000 wants to know if Ship 24 and 25 will be equipped with a flight termination system.
Well, I think we've actually seen pictures and videos of the FTS on 24, which should be installed if it's in the same spot that it was for the other ships. Should be this little box on the back. We don't know about Ship 25 yet. But a safe bet would be they would also have an FTS.
I think it would be reasonable to assume any vehicle that is going to fly will be equipped with the flight termination system or the FTS. Of course, we had another question asking about if they can do that out at the pad, and I think we've actually seen FTS work get done at the pad for hop tests in the past, right, Alex?
Yeah, we actually were waiting always prior to the hops to.
Right,
to
it was like
see
one of the
them
last things we saw.
Yeah, activating the FTS, and we were like, oh, now they have to do this, and it takes this time to do it, like tracking when the lifts will go up and everything. It was awesome. I miss those days.
There you go. So yeah, we'll that'll be something to keep an eye on closer to flight, I think, but no reason to indicate that the vehicles will not have a flight termination system. That's a pretty standard requirement across space flight.
Yes, definitely.
In any case, the booster can be its own FTS sometimes, if you think about it.
Yeah. So,
listen, that's not the attitude we're going for. That's too much negativity going on. We need to be optimistic here.
Oh, come on. I only did one joke.
I did hear that, the Mr. Bergen was putting down some pretty pessimistic bets on the SLS Artemis 1 debut, so maybe the theme here is overly pessimistic. We need to be hoping for launches, not scrubs. Scrubs happen, and it's okay, but it's never the desired result. Got some super chats that have come in here as well. Conway says that they should start naming starships after Thunderbirds. Also have a question here from Eliza asking, what do you think we will get first? A completed tower with the chopsticks and QD arm at 39A in Florida, or the first orbital Starship launch? I'm assuming Starship launch. If he just said orbital launch, I can pretty much guarantee at least one orbital launch will happen before the 39A tower is finished. But I'm assuming they're talking about Starship.
I'd assume so as well. I think it really depends on what you define as a completed tower and chopsticks, because even the tower and chopsticks we have here in Starbase, they are still being worked on every single day. So I would not call them completed as far as like complete, because we've seen the renders, what they want it to look like. That's what I would call a completed tower. As far as a serviceable tower that will do the job and do what they want, I don't know. It'll be close. How about that?
Yeah, I would find it hard to. Well, it's because they're building the second one, right? The first, right? They've already gone through the process once, and they have lessons to implement and stuff like that. But building an entire orbital launch complex is not a trivial